Hello and welcome to North Country Matters. My name is Donna Seymour. I'm a member of the St. Lawrence Valley League of Women Voters, one of the civic partners for our show. My guest today is Cassondra Caswell. She is the Health and Senior Team Leader for Cornell Cooperative Extension. She is the SNAP Ed Program Manager and also an Associate Director for Cornell Cooperative Extension. Casey, welcome to North Country Matters. That's a lot of hats to wear. You are here today to talk to us about the North Country Fruit and Vegetable Prescription Program. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you came to be working for Cornell Cooperative Extension in this area, and nutrition in general, if you would, please.
Thank you for having me. So I was one who I did well in school, but I really got involved with Cornell Cooperative Extension through their 4-H program, 4-H youth development, as a teenager or young youth myself. So I really latched on to this concept that Cornell Cooperative Extension offers that community education. And I really excelled in that type of that outreach and that education for myself. So when I finished my college and I kind of came back to the area, Cornell Cooperative Extension had a couple of different positions open, but I started my career in, again, the youth development programming, where we did a whole bunch of different programming, but a big part of it was nutrition and health, especially for kids in schools. But then I recognized the larger impact of, the general community and general nutrition, and kind of moved into our health and nutrition department. In learning and working in that field, learned a lot about nutrition security. In one of our programmings, as you mentioned, is fruit and vegetable prescription program, and really how that has the impact on our community at large.
Okay, thank you. So let's just talk a little bit about some of the programs that you oversee to help ensure that people have access to the nutritious food they need for optimal health and living. Talk to us a little bit about SNAP Ed and some of those programs and how they impact our local community.
Absolutely. So in our health and nutrition department, we do general nutrition, which is just, we talk about the 5 food groups and kind of basic concepts around eating healthy and being active for all populations, youth, adults, and older adults. We also have received a program through farm to school programming and funding. So we're able to go into the schools and kind of talk about local foods and the producers and the farmers that are providing that produce to our local schools through the BOCES food service system. But as you mentioned, kind of our big program has been our SNAP Ed nutrition and healthy living initiative. So that, again, in general, our target audience for that is those that are facing financially, struggling financially, and just looking for a little bit of extra help and some of that knowledge around eating healthy on a budget. Where can I find healthy and nutritious foods locally with our farmers markets or those food access programs like Double Up Bucks. And token programs and the WIC checks and all that type of stuff. So we educate a lot around where that food access points are to help people access essentially those healthy foods, especially when life is tight and the budget is tight. And one of them, again, is our fruit and vegetable prescription program. And again, a lot of that getting into what that nutrition security really looks like in our community.
Okay, thanks. And one of the things that we know that certainly much of St. Lawrence County and rural New York are food deserts. People don't have access to full service grocery stores. Many times, if you live in a really rural area, the only quote unquote food store you have is your local gas station, which carries a few things, but that is not the kind of food that we're talking about here that is both healthy, nutritious, and fresh, is it?
Right, correct. Yeah, we live in a great rural area. So our region for the SNAP Ed program is the North Country. So we have the 6 counties in the northern part of New York State. And yeah, there's food deserts and there's food swamps. So again, you may have access to food, but is it those healthy and nutritious foods? And so a lot of our programming is really trying to get towards that access of getting those fresh produce or foods into the hands of those that are looking for it and needing of it.
Yeah, that's right. So the Food Research and Action Center, known as FRAC, did a recent report called Food is Medicine Survey Findings, which outlines the work going on with anti-hunger organizations to partner with healthcare providers to ensure that patients are connected to federal nutrition programs, including SNAP and WIC. The report provides real insights into the ways in which organizations are partnering with healthcare providers, practices, organizations, and systems, as well as the challenges that are faced in this work and the supports that are needed to bolster it. This is exactly what the North Country Fruit and Vegetable Prescription Program is all about, isn't it, Cassie? So tell us who's eligible for this initiative here in the North Country.
Yeah, absolutely. So our program does cover the North Country region. For us is St. Lawrence, Jefferson, and Lewis counties, as well as Clinton, Essex, Franklin, and Akwesasne as well. And the system really is, as you explained, we're really trying to get the healthcare partners, those that are seeing their patients on a regular basis, and are really looking at their health data and seeing, are they even at risk? They have family risk for certain health related or nutrition related, conditions. So, and that's pretty much anything where health and eating healthy foods, health and nutrition can really impact your overall health. So whether that's diabetes, if that's high blood pressure, certain cancers, heart diseases, pretty much anything, right? As you said, food is medicine. Food is what we put into our body to fuel our everyday lives. So putting healthy and nutritious foods is going to help us stay healthier longer versus the not so healthy and nutritious foods, right? We kind of start to break down and we end up going to the doctor more often. So if we can catch people because they're already going to the doctor and facing these concerns, getting our partnership is getting the referrals from those healthcare partners that send those individuals to us at Cornell Cooperative Extension and our SNAP Ed program. And we enroll them in 6 weeks of workshops, so up to 6 weeks. And we do those in person throughout our region. We try to get into, if we have a list of people and there's a handful of them that are in Messina or Malone or Plattsburgh, we will set up a class maybe at a local library or community center where, again, we're trying to break down the transportation barrier as well. So bringing our workshops to the community where people are already living, working, etc. At the end, in those workshops, the individuals learn from our research-based, peer-reviewed curricula that we use to just, again, talk about the general my plate in the health and nutritious foods that are out there. Not the non-processed one, we talk about whole foods in the sense of the nutritional value that you get out of, again, those basic food groups. As well as focusing a little bit more on the fruits and vegetable component of it. And then our workshops also do a hands-on food demonstration. So we're going to be talking about how to help get more of those produce into the household and into our diet. They're only really beneficial to our health if we're consuming them, right? So the food demonstration component is trying to work on building confidence and skill in the kitchen with how do I cook some of these produce? Maybe you've never cooked with cauliflower or kohlrabi or cabbage before, maybe perhaps. So we try to make it into a healthy, nutritious recipe that people are going to like, incorporating that into maybe a food and meal that your family already loves and just incorporating a little bit more of the produce or cooking in a different way that's more healthy or anything like that. So it's a hands-on workshop. And at the end of each one of those, the participants will get $25 in a voucher. It's essentially a coupon that they take with them that they can then spend on produce with one of our local partners in order to get that fresh fruits and vegetables. So when you think about the system, getting it from the healthcare partners to the nutrition, the knowledge that the participants are building, to then getting them access with a little bit of that assistance with that voucher, the funding, so that they can access and get the foods. And then when they bring it into the home, they then built that skill and confidence in making it into something that they and their families will eat and enjoy. So that's essentially when we talk about the process of really how we're trying to get that closed loop. And we do provide kind of the data back to the healthcare providers that are sending us a referral as well, again, to kind of see that closed loop and how, the impact that this type of programming has had for our community members.
Wow, that's a very comprehensive program. So talk to us a little bit, Kathy, about who your healthcare partners are that you're working with through this system.
We've been working on this program for just about 3 years. So we have most of the healthcare networks in that North Country region that I mentioned. Community Health Center of the North Countries that are in both St. Lawrence and Franklin County. We have the St. Lawrence Health System. So that is a lot of small clinics or practices that are in the small towns as well. We've reached out to Edwards and DeKalb, so a lot of those smaller clinics that are part of that network of the St. Lawrence Health System. Claxton Hepburn, Clifton Fine Hospital, the Samaritan networks that are down in the Jefferson County, Lewis County area. And just recently, University of Vermont in the Champaign Valley family medicine, we're working with the family medicine clinic up in Plattsburgh, as well as Alice Hyde. We have 2 clinics in Malone that we are working with. So a lot of those larger networks, as well as if there's any private practices that want to be a part of this, we are more than happy to make those connections as well. If there's an independent practice provider who wants to get in on the partnership.
And of course, that's one thing that we know, that we don't have the kind of independence that we used to have quite a number of years ago. Now, most people are affiliated with one of the larger health networks. So that's for sure. So I'm curious, Casey, you talk about you're going out to these other counties, and yet you're based here in St. Lawrence County. Is it like a contract that you have that you cover the North Country, or do some of the other cooperative extensions also do this work?
Yeah, so with our SNAP Ed programming, as I mentioned, those 6 counties are part of our contract, essentially.
Okay.
So we work with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Jefferson County and Cornell Cooperative Extension of Clinton County, and they employ staff that then we deploy into those areas to fill this coverage as well.
Okay, because as you mentioned before, that is a large geographic area and there are many transportation barriers. So it's good that you have partners within your partnership to make that all work. So a key piece of the program that we're talking about here are local food systems. Describe for us who your local food partners are, because that's a big piece of making sure that people have access to fresh food, is that we support the farmers and the producers in the area, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that was when we got started with building this system and this initiative. That was our primary focus. We have a local foods team here with, I think, most of the farmer extensions, but especially in St. Lawrence County. And that's an important part to, one, I think, our economy in our communities, and just connecting with our producers and the businesses that are here. So Garden Share in St. Lawrence County was a huge first partner for us to really connect with and say, where are these avenues of connecting with these producers? So we have partnerships with most, if not all, of the vendors that are working at the farmers markets in St. Lawrence County. As well as Jefferson County and Plattsburgh. We did get them on as well, but Garden Share oversees the ones in St. Lawrence County. And that was instrumental in making kind of those first contacts and that network there. So the Garden Share, the farmers markets, during the summertime with the farmers markets, we really do try to do like a one-stop shopping. So we'll try to have our workshops either directly at the farmers market or at a location nearby, so that when they get their vouchers, they go right there and they shop and they talk with their farmer. We do grocery farmers market tours where we are taking them around and saying, this farmer has this types of produce. We just made that. And the farmers markets are sometimes nice too, because you start making that rapport. And sometimes some deals and discounts when it comes to that local connection and partnership there. So farmers markets, as well as individual farm stands. There's a couple of farm stands. Martin's farm stand out in Potsdam or past Potsdam is nice because they are year round, and they accept the vouchers as well. There's a couple of farm stands. I don't know off the top of my head. I think there's also a Martin's in Jefferson County that has a large farm stand as well. And so those are other ways or other avenues that people can reach out to those local producers.
And of course, one of the things that you're doing is establishing relationships, so that people think, oh, I had such a great experience at this farmer's market. I know these people. I know they're high quality food. I can go back and I'm sure those the farmers and the vendors are also always willing to help folks out with ideas about how to use the food. And to,
Absolutely.
so that there's this constant reinforcement about changing and improving people's use of local food. And, one of the things that we know is that we can all walk into a grocery store and pick up a bag of salad that came from 3,000 miles away, but it doesn't taste the same as the one that you harvest, locally, that's for sure. So the quality is a big part of what you're talking about in terms of the food that's available locally, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I'd like to say to that too is when we go back to talking about access and the farmers market, the wonderful partnership with Garden Share is they run the EBT machine at least the farmers markets in St. Lawrence County. So if we're having our participants come to our workshops and they're getting that, that incentive through the voucher to get produce, then hopefully they build that connection, as you said, with the farmer and continue to go back and realize, oh, I can also use my EBT benefits here. And, through the generosity of Garden Share and the EBT machine and using the tokens program, they can continue to go back even after the not having maybe the vouchers anymore from our programming. They've kind of hopefully built that habit or that behavior of, hey, the farmers market is open on this day and time. I know the farmers who have X, Y, and Z for produce that I've learned to love. And you start building that community and you start building that network, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. So this is a year-round program, but of course, farmers markets aren't really year-round because of the weather up here. So how does this program work in the colder months when the farmers markets are closed at the end of the season?
Absolutely. So we definitely want to keep this programming going and not having when's the start date and where's the end date. So we really early on wanted to make sure we made it year round. So we did connect with Save a Lot, who has, their local branches here in St. Lawrence County, as well as Jefferson County. They have a kind of a separate ownership there. But Save a Lot does accept the vouchers as well, because we don't want to completely exclude the accessibility. So year round, when it comes to weather and not having the farmers markets, having a local grocers that do accept them and willing to take them. So Save a Lot is our partners kind of in St. Lawrence and Jefferson area. Again, Martin's Farm Stand in Potsdam has a year-round farm stand. And we are working on getting the Plattsburgh Food Co-op that will have produce year-round. They have been looking into being a partner with us as well. So we're trying to find those local food vendors that are in our area so that in every county doing this programming, they will have winter month access to produce.
So that, again, you're still building up your network, and this is a great way to make sure that folks have access, even if there's 2 feet of snow on the ground, which sooner or later, of course, will happen. So Casey, rather, this is a new program, but you've said you've been around for 3 years, so you have goals for it. How are you able to measure that it is making a real and positive difference in people's health by working with your partners in the healthcare field?
Absolutely. So again, another one of the important things for us as we built this is to be able to close that referral loop. So I monthly provide feedback to our healthcare partners to say, here's where the patients or the participants have made it through. Are they in 2 workshops, or have they completed 4 or 6? And so that's just kind of that nice feedback, essentially, right? And I do hear back from some of our partners that give us referrals and saying, so-and-so's A1C level has come down since being a part of the program, or, that type of stuff. But through our funding with GusSNP, Schumacher Food Incentive Programming is who provides some of our funding. There's a research component, a part of that. So our participants are asked if they're willing to provide some health data. And if they are, we reach out to them and their healthcare providers 6 months and a year after going through the program to kind of take a look at that health data and seeing, has there been any improvements made? And we do understand that that may not be 100% contributed to the fruit and vegetable prescription program, but by the nature of them hopefully or potentially going through the program, they're starting to recognize and think about what are these other types of health behaviors that I can start doing. You know, do I start walking more? Do I start drinking more water and milk versus sugary beverages? And just, again, trying to think about building that behavior of buying more, you know, those fresh produce, whether it's be through the vouchers and then EBT or just in general. So that is where we're trying to hopefully being able to get back, you know, feedback and that health data. And we're not at the point where we've ran a full year of doing that research yet, but we're really excited to see what that, you know, what that does show when we get to that point.
Yeah, and we know just in general that access to quality food that hasn't been over processed is a key to good health. And of course, that's just one of the components, as you mentioned. You know, you need to have regular exercise, all those other things that work into this. But that's where working with a healthcare provider, they can reinforce the good behaviors and, you know, explain how this partnership will actually improve health. You talk about the workshops, and people can take more than one workshop. So do you do this on an ongoing basis in terms of, like, will there be another set of workshops next year that people can take again to maybe reinforce the information that they got this year?
Yeah, so some of our programs will be a little bit differently. So some of the programs will start with a cohort. So every 6 weeks, we'll start a new cohort of participants when we get the referrals in. But in St. Lawrence County, we are doing a rolling entry into our workshop. So essentially, we try, as soon as we get a referral, we try to reach out to them within a week and saying, we have one in your area that's on Thursdays at 2. Would you like to get enrolled in it? So we have these workshops are happening year round as well. So hopefully that helps people get, once I've talked a little bit about my provider, they send the referral, within a week you hear from us. And we're hoping that helps people kind of come and keep, you know, wanting to come to the program. So yeah, so that is year round as well, and getting people right into the next cohort.
Do you work with senior citizens? Because the elderly are often the people who need the most help. They're on a fixed income. They may no longer drive, so they may have some transportation issues. And for many of them, they're cooking for one person instead of for a family. So that changes the dynamic as well, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And yes, we do provide these services as well for our older adults. And a lot of our referrals actually they're coming in for that population. And I'm glad you kind of made that comment about, you know, the size of the family as well, because what we decided to do with our vouchers is, I said, you get $25 worth of vouchers, but we broke them down into $5 increments. So if somebody wants to only get $5 or $10 a week, because that's all they can really consume in that week without it going bad, that's fine too. So breaking it down into those smaller increments helps, you know, the family size be able to get the right amount for their family. And so, yeah, again, if you're making a meal for just one individual, regardless of age, I think that helps as well.
Yeah, that's good to know. And that flexibility is going to increase the success of the whole program, isn't it? Because there is no one size that fits all answer, is there?
Absolutely. And that was the nice thing with farmers markets, because there are so many vendors, you can kind of break it up. So you might use one, you know, $5 with one vendor and $10 with another vendor. And it's been a really nice way, again, to get everybody involved and being able to have access for multiple different vendors in different locations and different fruits and vegetables, etc.
And of course, it's a great economic multiplier, because those dollars are being spent locally, and they're being spent with people that are actually growing the food. It's not like it's going to some corporate entity far away. This is money that's actually getting recycled into the community, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And with those, you know, even those small independent grocers that we're using, the same thing. They're locally owned, you know, businesses. So when we were talking a little bit about our access, I wanted to share too, that we're kind of on that topic. We had a really partner that was pushing for this in the Clifton Fine area, so Clifton Fine Hospital, and we were trying to figure out, breaking down the transportation barrier, how do we find somebody who's providing that produce so they don't have to drive all the way to you know, Harrisville or Gouverneur. So we found Otto's abode in Wanakina, I think is where he is, and the owner there sent back some information saying, we're really excited to partner with you. A lot of people don't necessarily know we're here, and it's brought in a lot of people, and they do have produce year round. So just making, again, kind of going back to making those connections, building that, that economic component here in our rural area it's great to see not only the health impacts, but that community economic impact as well.
And I know that the community bus service, the county bus service, is also instrumental in this, because I recall when talking about Star Lake, when the Great American Store closed, county bus started running a bus into Harrisville, because that was actually the closest place where there was a grocery store, because those people were really cut off because of being so far away from the other big community centers in St. Lawrence County. So Casey, this is such a terrific program, and I'm really excited to learn more about it, because it's exactly what we need to improve the overall health and quality of life for everybody in the county. Whether you're someone who is needing help figuring out nutrition, whether you're a farmer trying to provide local food and get your business off the ground, this really is the perfect match, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, so any final thoughts as we wrap up, Casey?
No, I think this has been a great conversation, and I hope people are enticed and curious about it and giving us a call, either just to learn more or to reach out to your healthcare provider, because we do get calls quite frequently about, I heard about it, or I saw a poster, my friend or my relative, my neighbor has gone to a class, and how do I get involved? And so, like I said earlier, most of our healthcare networks are already partnering with us, but we are more than welcome if somebody calls and they give me a provider and they're not already in our network. I'll reach out to them, or we'll reach out to them and tell them all about it. And we're just trying to build that and getting the word out there, and really trying to make an impact, and trying to serve as many people as we can through this program.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Casey, and I will put all the links in our show notes so that people will have your phone number and they'll learn more about the SNAP Ed program and everything else. So thanks again for your time. This is a real success story, and it's always nice to feature those here on North Country Matters. So we appreciate you coming in to do that.
Well, thank you, and I definitely appreciate you having me.
Well, it's a good match, just like your program's a good match between healthcare providers and food providers. So a reminder to our viewers that Election Day is on November 5th, which will be preceded by 9 days of early voting in New York State from October 26th to November 3rd. You can request either an absentee ballot or a ballot by mail if you're unable to get to the polls. Be sure to flip your ballot on November 5th or at the early voting site to vote on ballot provision 1, which is the New York State Equal Rights Amendment to the state constitution. So these conversations are a production of North Country Matters. This show is a civic collaboration between the St. Lawrence County League of Women Voters and the Potsdam Public Library. Until next time, remember, our North Country matters.